This is DJ Fallout, and you're listening to Vaquero Radio. Hello, welcome to Vaquero Radio. My name is DJ Fallout, and this is the Fallout Shelter. Now, this is my first show this semester, so this is kind of a new format for me. The Fallout Shelter is here to talk about our music, our hobbies, our vices, our sins, all the things that we're doing during the pandemic to keep us entertained and distracted and aware. So we're going to start with music. Coming up, Blue Oyster Cult, Don't Fear the Reaper.
Mommy! Why does everybody have a bomb?
Okay, so that was Blue Oyster Cult with Don't Fear the Reaper and Prince, 1999. Now, I mentioned the name of my show is The Fallout Shelter, and my name DJ Fallout. There's a reason my show is named what it is, and I'm taking this DJ name. Some of you may be of a generation to have played the games for Fallout 3, 4, there's many of them. But they all exist in this post-nuclear world, this world that has ended and started again, right? One of the things that any player will remember from these games is the music. I was introduced to the ink spots through the Fallout games before I took music appreciation. So there's a deep history in the music that's played in these games. And the thing that impresses me the most about how the music is used in these games is this is what's left. And in the Fallout series, they have DJs throughout the land that broadcast their own particular flavor of propaganda or entertainment or information. And that's kind of part of the mystery of these games is being able to stumble through them and find these characters that are broadcasting their opinions and trying to deduce fact from fiction. We find ourselves in a similar situation here, right? We're stuck. We're isolated from one another. I just came on campus today to come broadcast, and it's a ghost town. It's unnerving, to be honest. And so I was kind of walking in thinking about these things, thinking about the way that COVID and the pandemic has changed the way that we interface with one another, the way that we talk to one another. A lot of it's coming through Zoom classes and one-way communication like my show. So I want to make this a safe place to talk about the music that we're listening to and why we're listening to it. Obviously, Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult's an easy choice, right? Because, we don't want to be in morbid fear of death, but we do want to be aware that our actions have effect on others. So we want to stay safe. We want to listen to guidelines. We want to get the shot when it's available so we can protect not just ourselves, but our family and our friends. And so there's a bigger picture here. We as a society don't need to fear the Reaper because we will outlast this pandemic. I'm pretty sure of it. We just need to make sure that our hearts are in the right place. Now, of course, 1999 by Prince, that's another kind of obvious one. It talks about the end of the world, talks about not really caring about the end of the world and moving on. He just wants to dance, he says at some point in the song. So there is a certain nihilism to kind of standing on this precipice and picking music and figuring out how to tell a story with music, because that's part of what I'm doing here. I'm hoping that at some point you folks will interact and we'll be able to have a conversation about what else we're doing during the pandemic. Are we learning new skills? Are we picking up bad habits? What is it that we're doing to make it to the other side? Because I understand that this is hard. This is hard for everybody involved. I've seen my parents kind of changing the way that they do things because it's different. They don't want to get sick. They don't want to get their friends sick. Their friends and themselves are, they're older. So in them, we see a certain protectivism. They understand the need to stay away from one another. Us younger folks, I'm a Gen Xer, so I'm not actually that young, but the younger folks have kind of a you only live once attitude. Now, for me, I like facts. So as of today, in the United States, there have been over 450,000 COVID deaths. That's from the CDC as of today. As of today, there have been over 3,900 deaths just in one day. As of yesterday, 3,912 people died. Those facts don't lie. That's more than everybody that died during 9/11 in one day. I'm wearing a mask. I'm using antibacterials. I'm doing what I can to protect my family because you know what? Facts don't lie. And we have to agree that there's only one set of facts here, guys. So we'll make sure as Vaquero Radio to keep you all informed of the latest facts and figures on COVID, factual based information, and we want to make sure everybody stays safe. So for this segment, if I'm saying anything, is welcome to Vaquero Radio. I am DJ Fallout, and this is the Fallout Shelter where we talk about all things that we're afraid of and all things that help us during this time of crisis. So questions, comments, please feel free to reach out to social media for Vaquero Radio. Now, this is my first show, so I'm just getting the hang of this. I'm sure I'll be able to get better at this as we go. But thank you for listening. It's 11:17. My name is DJ Fallout, and thank you. Welcome back to Vaquero Radio. This is DJ Fallout, and this is the Fallout Shelter. We just heard Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie, and before that, Welcome to Paradise by Green Day. Now, this Queen and David Bowie song, it came out in 1995. Honestly, the more I hear it, the more I understand it as a battle of wills between kind of two voices. I don't know if you hear that in the song, that David Bowie's voice is kind of the sound of doom, the voice of doom, using kind of this weird, stilted syntax and singing, pressure pushing down on me, these kinds of pronouncements of pressure, we'll say. Now, Freddie Mercury's voice is kind of the pained victim, his prayers and hopes for release. And then you have on the other side David Bowie, kind of very cold in his description. It's the terror of knowing what this world is about, watching some good friends scream, "Let me out." So there's kind of this, passion versus dispassion play in the song. I'm not sure. I do listen to this song a lot, especially during these times because we're all under pressure. And, this song kind of reminds us of that, these two late poets that left us this song to think about. Then, of course, there was Green Day's Welcome to Paradise. That song embedded in my personal memory only because at the time that album came out, I was in the military and kind of at the front end of something that I felt was important. And it was a new time, for me as a young man. I'm no longer a young man, obviously, but it's still there, that the memories of the time and the people and what I was doing, still fresh. So that song brings a smile to my face, even though it's kind of an ironic song about homelessness. But anyway, so my hope is that you get something out of this in terms of listening deeper to songs for their meaning, especially during these times. We're all looking for something to believe in, and sometimes it's music. So my hope is that you were inspired to listen deeper to your own songs and talk a little more about them and why you listen to them, especially now. So without further ado, here is Rush. That was Dark Necessities by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Speaking of dark necessities, I know a lot of people that have picked up on a few vices since the pandemic started. A little background on myself. I graduated in May of 2020 with a BA in communications. Since then, I have not found work. I came back to school as a graduate student, studying communications once again, and getting, of course, the opportunity to sit in the booth for Vaquero Radio. This is a great opportunity, and I can't thank everyone enough for giving me this opportunity to do so. Um, it's reflective. It allows me to help work on a master's thesis, for instance. So there's a lot to be learned while sitting here. Now, back to what I was saying about vices. A lot of folks have picked up not so great habits during the pandemic, maybe smoking. Again, like for myself, I used to smoke. I went to vaping, which is a less hazardous option. Then I quit vaping entirely, and then a bunch of people stormed the Capitol, and then I started vaping again. That's not an excuse, but there was a certain level of stress that I had reached. I felt it. It was almost like a switch in my head that said, "Okay, you need to figure out a way to deal with this." Again, no excuses. My actions are my own, but I can totally see how triggering events cause people to pick up on bad habits. I mean, mine was somewhat innocuous, but imagine if, it were something, having to do with prescription drugs or something else. I can certainly see how one can end up in trouble. So if I'm saying anything during this segment, it's to take heed of your fellow man. Pay attention to them. Not everybody's doing okay, for sure. Check on your parents. Check on your friends, especially those friends that are loners by nature. They may be even more isolated during this time and may just need somebody to talk to. And even if that's a one-way communication, encourage them to reach out to others. Just get them to talk, because the more that we talk to one another, the better off we're going to be at the end. I've lost a lot of friends during this thing, simply because we don't see eye to eye, and the facts that we're referring to are different. It shouldn't have had to have been that way. So part of my effort here with the Fallout Shelter is to once again be a safe place to talk about all of these things that have occurred, what we've had to do to get through it, what we're looking forward to after it's all over, and how we can maybe use music to come together a little bit, because I miss shows. One of the last things I did before the pandemic hit completely was to take my son to his first all-ages show in McAllen. We went to the Sons of Texas show there right before Christmas, and he had the time of his life. Granted, he couldn't hear me for 3 days afterwards, but he thoroughly enjoyed himself, and there was a lot of there's a lot to be said for group gatherings, and we have missed so many of them during the pandemic. So that's one of those things that's kind of worth getting to. Again, bad habits being the dark necessities that we're turning to, but we can always look towards brighter places as we get closer and closer to the end of this. So that was the Gorillas with Dare. So for this final segment, it's 11:47 in the a.m. It's 72 degrees outside this Thursday, February 4th. So it's a beautiful day. What some DJs would call, what do they call it? Chamber of Commerce weather. It's very beautiful outside, so I do suggest that you socially distance and check it out for yourselves. I'm going to go for a bike ride probably. I don't know. Don't hold me to that. So, what did y'all think? This is my first show back. This format may or may not stick. Again, what I'm looking for is talking about the music that we're listening to during COVID, to get from this point to the next point. I use music a lot to motivate, especially when I'm studying or trying to work out. So I would definitely like to hear from anybody, to figure out what you all are doing to have music in your life and have it as a calming influence, and an influence that keeps us regulated and on an even keel, if you will. So let's see. Okay. Coming up next, Daft Punk. That was Daft Punk, One More Time. So before that, we had Gorillas with Dare. Obviously, those are dance songs. These are just the dance songs that, make me feel good, I guess, when we listen to them. So that's why they're in the program. I know a lot of my songs had lyrical content to pay attention to, but in this particular case, it was just, songs that make me feel good. So that about wraps it up, y'all. My name is DJ Fallout. This is my first show. It's finally in the bag. Oh my goodness, that was a little bit hair-raising, but I'm very happy to have done it. Thank you all for listening, and y'all have a great day. This is DJ Fallout, and you're listening to Vaquero Radio.